What up, trainers? Today we're going over the top 5 decks you should be playing if you want to hit that Master Ball rank by the end of the season. I'm going to give you some tips on how these decks should be played so that you can win more of your games. If you're looking to get out of Ultra Ball tier, these are the decks that you should be playing. Be sure to like and subscribe if this video helps you at all. If you don't want to play these main meta decks, I've got 2 decks for you at the end of this video that you could also play to counter the meta. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below what deck you hate the most. Yes, I said hate the most. Like, what deck is driving you absolutely insane? Because there's definitely some games I'm sick of seeing these cards. It's frustrating. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the decks. Okay, fantastic, guys. This is going to be deck number 1. Everyone's seeing it. We're sick of it. It's driving everyone absolutely crazy, but it is the Giratina Darkrai EX combo. No Druddigan. We do not want Druddigan. Honestly, if you have been playing with Druddigan, it is more of a crutch than it is helping you. It is much better to either have the Giratina or Darkrai out in your active spot than it is to deal with the Druddigan, because you might end up just giving a free point over to your opponent. It only has 100 HP. Unfortunately, Druddigan just doesn't work very well in this deck. So it's better to just have the 2 Darkrai, 2 Giratina in this deck. All of these decks are coming from Limitless, from tournaments that have been played on the website, so I can link you to those. Personally, for me, I don't care for Pokemon Center Lady when it comes to the Darkrai Giratina deck, but this deck did place first in Ursi's tournament, so, you know, I'm probably wrong. Like, I'll admit it. Like, I can admit that I'm probably wrong and that this person probably understands better what they are trying to do with their deck. For me, I would probably have another Sabrina or Cyrus in my deck, but they only have 1 Sabrina, they have 1 Cyrus, and 1 red. What's super important with red is that red will give the Giratina that 150 threshold damage for knocking out, let's say, Mewtwo or any Pokemon that has 150 HP. Unfortunately, not going to knock out Gyarados, which we're also going to be talking about in just a second. But this deck is super strong. Turn 1, you get to, if you have Giratina down, you get to put an energy on it. And then if you're going second, then you get 2 energies. And it's just so consistent with the few cards that you have, or the few Pokemon that you have in this deck. It makes it really consistent because you only are relying upon these 2 cards. And they do a good amount of damage, especially in the meta. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I have to say this, but full disclosure, I've gotten most of my wins with this deck. Yeah, it's sad. I know. It's just such a strong and consistent deck that this is up number 1 for me. This is the deck that got number 1 in Ursi's tournament. And so, you know, here it is. I've personally made a few changes to mine that fits my playstyle a little bit more, and you can definitely go and do the same. Okay, great. So now we're going to hop over to number 2, and it is Giratina 1 Mewtwo. Bro, it is so frustrating, but if you want to win games, like, these 2 decks here are definitely your go-to. Honestly, they're so strong right now. It's hard to avoid seeing this deck. It's hard to avoid or seeing these cards. It's hard to avoid seeing these Pokemon because they're so strong, and it's such a consistent way to play this game because Pokemon Pocket is very random. It can be very frustrating. Even with a 20 card deck, this game gets really, really irritating if you are trying to evolve to a stage 2 Pokemon. Like, if you're trying to get Charizard, it is so frustrating if you can't even get that Charmeleon, but you've got 2 Charizards in hand and you just can't get a Charmeleon, and it takes 2 turns, right, to even evolve that Charmander up. These decks, these basic EX Pokemon, are just so consistent that this is probably the best way to play. Anyway, long story short, Giratina, you want to play Giratina with this deck first in the active spot. Mewtwo, preferably you're going to have sitting on the bench, stacking up the energies on the Mewtwo. You need Mewtwo to be your go-to at the end, like end game, right? So Giratina is going to get you a point, maybe two, but it's going to get knocked out, right? That's the whole thing. It will probably get knocked out, but it will definitely get you at least 1 point. And then the Mewtwo comes in to swing at the EX Pokemon for 150. It will pretty much knock out any Pokemon. Again, Gyarados is being played, and it's hard to get to that Gyarados. But if you're lucky and if you've gotten damage out somehow with maybe the Rocky Helmet or something, you can knock that Gyarados out. That's pretty much the main strategy of this deck, is that Mewtwo is our heavy hitter on the bench. All right, so moving on to deck number 3, we have Gyarados. If you guys have seen this, it's definitely a really good deck for sure. So we've got the 2 Gyarados, we have 2 Manaphy, and 1 Origin Form Palkia. So right off the bat, we have Gyarados EX, who has 180 HP, which is massive when it comes to what is currently in the meta, which is the Giratina, the Darkrai, and the Mewtwo. They cannot one-shot Gyarados unless it's taken some damage prior. They can't one-shot Gyarados. You want to have Manaphy out in your active spot at the start so that you can start ramping up energies onto the Palkia and onto your Gyarados. For sure, those are sitting on the bench. You can use the Origin Form Palkia first. Before you use the Gyarados, use the Origin Form Palkia so that you can get some damage off. Gyarados is only doing 140 HP or 140 damage. This is why we have a red in this deck. Most of these Gyarados decks I've run into are running pretty much the same cards. This deck is also working out really good right now because Hitmonlee is not as prevalent as it used to be. So the Hitmonlee is not knocking out the Magikarp that's on your bench before you can evolve it. Most people are just playing these freaking stupid cards. Yes, I said it. I'm sick of Giratina, but most people are playing Giratina. There's nothing really going after your bench Pokemon currently. And so that's why Gyarados is right back in the meta, because of its health and because of the damage it can do. If you have that red with the Gyarados, you're probably going to be getting 2 points knocking out that EX Pokemon, the freaking Giratina. So yeah, you'll do 160. You can knock out that Giratina. You can knock out that Mewtwo. Play this deck if you're sick of playing Giratina Darkrai. This deck is also really strong. It's pretty consistent and it works really well against the Giratina Darkrais. Great, so deck number 4. We're already on to number 4. Okay, we have Gallade EX, Hitmonlee, Marshadow. Okay, what's good about this deck? Well, it is good against the meta currently, somehow, even though they're weak to Psychic, it is good against the meta. And it's because of Gallade's ability on its move, Energized Blade. You're going to do 20 more damage for each energy your opponent's Pokemon has on it. So when it comes to Giratina and Darkrai, man, they're just stacking up energies. This is also good against the Gyarados, who's just stacking up energies on it, right? It needs 4 energies, so that is a total of 80 extra damage. 70 plus 80 equals 150 damage. That's if they've got four energies stacked on there. It's going to knock out the meta. You can also red if you need to, but you probably won't need to, because the way that this deck is played, you are going to have Hitmonlee in your active spot first while you evolve that Ralts on the bench. Hitmonlee needs 1 energy. This is a very low energy cost deck to play. You want to use that Hitmonlee to hit the bench Pokemon, which is probably the Giratina or the Darkrai. Just 30 damage is enough to put the opponent's Darkrai, Giratina, or Mewtwo into threat range, one-shot threat range of Gallade. Gallade is doing a base 70 plus however many energy they have attached. So most of the time, if they've got the fully ramped up cards with the Giratina, the Darkrai, the Mewtwo, this Gallade is going to be able to one-shot those cards. We've got a lot of trainers in this deck here. The Iono makes this more consistent for you. Same with the Pokemon communication. It makes it more consistent that you are able to get to the Gallade, so that you're not just sitting with a Ralts or a Kirlia on your bench, Otherwise, you know, it just sucks. It sucks. Definitely sucks whenever you're not able to get to that stage 2 evolution. But anyway, this is a great deck against the Giratina, the Darkrais right now. If you're looking to go up in rank, this is definitely a deck that you can be playing. Number 5 on the list here is that Arceus Dialga, the Healing Shaman, and a Mew EX, just one Mew EX. This deck is still so consistent. It's still really strong. These are all basic Pokemon, so you don't have to rely on evolving anything. For the most part, you'll start with either Arceus or Dialga, preferably Dialga in your active spot. That way you can stack the energies faster. If you're able to get that 2 energy onto the Dialga, then you're able to get those 2 energies onto your Arceus or onto the Mew, who's going to be able to copy the opponent's attacks and do just as much damage to them as they are doing to you. When it comes to meta like this, where we're at, Mew, I feel like still has its place for sure. This is still a really good deck for you to play. It's very consistent. It's very strong. They are very healthy Pokemon, so they're not always going to get one shot by what's happening, or it'll take like from other cards, it'll take like 2 or 3 turns to be able to knock these Pokemon out. Okay, so here is our honorable mention number 1. This is Rampardos Lucario. It's a wild deck, right? But we know Rampardos is really strong. It is really strong for a stage 2 Pokemon that is not EX. It's doing 130 with that head smash. And then you could also, with red, do 150 damage. If you have a Lucario on your bench, that's 170 damage. That's going to knock out pretty much everything. And then if you've already used your Stretch Kick Hitmonlee at least once, that's 30 damage onto that Pokemon, whatever it may be. So Rampardos is pretty much going to always, by the time you get Rampardos, it will pretty much always be ready to knock out at least one Pokemon. I feel like this deck can be really good against the decks that are ramping up, like Giratina, like Darkrai, like Mewtwo, like Gyarados. This is a honorable mention. I would give it a try. I would swap things up a little bit, try to make it your own. In my head, there's definitely better ways to play this deck that makes it more consistent, but it's definitely a good deck to try and counter the current meta. And honorable mention number 2, we have Meowscarada Beedrill. So we have 2 Meowscarada lines and we have 1 Beedrill line. This deck it's really strong. It's a low energy cost as well. It is somewhat difficult to play because of the evolutions you need. However, if you are able to start with your Sprigatito in the active spot, Sprigatito's move, Cry for Help, is going to allow you to search the deck for one of the grass type Pokemon. So you're able to get more, you're able to more consistently get a at least a Pokemon, maybe an evolution in your hand ready to go, so that you can go ahead and get this deck ramped up going. If you're able to get those evolutions, this deck is really strong. You're going to hit 130 damage with Meowscarada against EX Pokemon. This deck is really good into the current meta. I would give this a try. You can definitely see a lot of success with this deck. It is one that you should go to if you're sick of playing the meta, which a lot of people are. Me personally, I'm also frustrated with wanting to play other decks and win. And this is definitely one of those decks that you can play right now. That's fun, it's engaging, and it's not Giratina. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And again, comment down below which card or which deck you hate the most, what you're seeing the most of, and what is driving you absolutely crazy. For me, you know what it is. I freaking hate Giratina. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next video. Ronin, out.